Point 3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sam Oracle Chinedu. A conversation for this hour borders on security, and we're going all the way to Delta State, where 4 children were abducted in Ogwashiuku and Yocha South local government area of Delta State. The children, Ebube, Miracle, Chimamanda, and Excel, were reportedly lured from their homes by 3 women who had recently rented an apartment in the Umuokwe quarters of the community. The women allegedly enticed the children with the promise of buying them biscuits. When the children did not return, neighbors discovered that the women's apartment was empty, and both the women and children were missing. The police have arrested the landlady for renting the apartment without obtaining any identification or contact information from the tenants. As you can tell, there's a whole lot more to unpack with this particular story, but joining us all the way from Delta is the police PPRO, the Police Public Relations Officer for Delta State Police Command, SP Bright Edafe. SP Edafe, thank you for making the time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, it's a pleasure. Okay, so I know that we've taken a few of the details of this case as I just read, but I know that there's a whole lot more to it. Please walk us through the events that led to the arrest of the landlady.
Well, you earlier reiterated, just correct. You are apt with what you have told your audience because that is what actually transpired. The question that nobody is asking is how old are these children?
Okay.
We have 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, little children that are supposed to be with their parents at that time. So the real question is where were their parents at that time? Because these are not grown up. They are children. You understand? Where were this goes back to what we call parental failure in today's society. Yes, I agree. The landlady had in her past because as you taking people, you call them tenants, no agreement, no contact sharing, no phone number, no name. You just collected money and give them apartment. So the landlady is at fault. But let's also forget to also discuss the part of the parents because they have their own role to play and they have heard in that part, and that is what has given rise to this children.
Okay, but an argument would be that, even though the parents may not have been around, the children were at home because it was a neighbor that abducted them, right? I live in a compound, if you may. Well, my flat is one of the buildings, the residents in my compound. And I know that there are children in that compound. Sometimes when their parents are not around, the children might be around. So is there any case to be made for the fact that even though these kids were abducted, they were abducted from their own compound?
Well, like I said, we all go from our various homes. And from the ages of these children, the parents does not have any excuse. So you may say it is from their compound. You have a mysterious neighbor that has not even stayed up to a week. You don't know them. And you allow your children to follow them simply because they were neighbors. If some of these issues are not properly addressed from the grassroots, it might repeat itself again. So the right issue should be addressed so that people will learn, so that parents will learn to know their responsibility and carry it out as it should be. We are on their trail, and I believe by the special grace of God we will arrest them. But we still need to do our own part so that we can forestall a repeat of what has happened in Washuku.
Okay, so according to official statements, the police arrested the landlady for renting the apartment without obtaining any identification or contact information from the tenants. That is what is in the public space. What kind of information should house owners, landlords and landladies get from their tenants?
Okay, well, I believe that the reason why she was arrested was the reason you have cited is part of it. But let us not forget that there is something called conspiracy. That is what we're investigating. If we, after our investigation, find out that she is not working with them, there is no conspiracy, then she can be granted bail. But for now, she's in custody because we're investigating.
Okay.
And for the details you were asking for, it is only natural that before you go into any form of business transaction with anybody, especially at the border, even hotel accommodation, you discover that it is very important to get details like ID card, address, phone numbers, and things like that. So people who are listening to us should understand the importance of having these details.
And in the event that a tenant gives false information, if I don't want to be known, I could falsify those details and give to a landlord. Who is at fault?
That is why there is need for a valid ID card. Valid ID card in Nigeria includes the driver's license, the voter's card, international passport.
Okay. So, generally speaking, because you have brought in conspiracy, and that's something for someone to be charged with. But are landlords generally interrogated or arrested if their tenants commit crimes? Are there other situations where they might be found liable?
Well, the answer is no. However, in this case, there is reason to suspect the landlady. Not in every case where the landlord will be liable. But there are some, it is better safe than sorry. Like I said in one of my posts in the past, your girlfriend can die in your house and you may not be responsible for it. But the journey to prove that you are not responsible for it, and then I did show that your hands are clean.
Okay. Now, has the Delta State Police Command engaged with the parents of these missing children?
Yes, we are on it, definitely. And without them, we would not have gotten the complaint. So they also complain. We are on it and we are working together so people can recover these children.
Okay. Well, we're hoping that they are recovered as quickly as possible. Finally, what should we expect from the police command? How long do you think the investigation would take? And bringing some clarity and closure to this case.
Investigation usually does not have a timeline. We'll work with the resources we have and hope and pray that we'll get it sooner, as soon as possible.
Okay. I'm hoping that we can get some information from you as, events unfold on this particular case.
Hopefully, but most important, use your media to encourage parents not to be lazy. You understand? Just yesterday, I took my kids to Cold Stone. And my wife came out to ask me questions, leaving the children inside Cold Stone. You need to see my anger. You understand? Why would you leave them there? Get the point. So people need to be aware of this risk so that it guides us in looking after our children more carefully.
Okay. Finally, the report states that 2 kids were from one parent and the other 2 from another parent. Was that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so 2 different parents in that compound lost their kids. That's interesting. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, SP Bright Edafe, for your time. We truly appreciate it.
God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Okay. So there you have it. I'm going to open the phone line shortly. We have a break coming up. And the questions for you connected to this. Again, I know that this is usually a concern when we have these interviews. The PPRO, of course, has other things to attend to, so we were only able to get his time for a limited period. So maybe that's why you cannot ask him questions. But my question is, how much information do you have about your tenants and neighbors? If you're a landlord, how well do you know your tenants? What information do you demand of them before allowing them occupy the apartment? And if you're not a landlord, you're a tenant, how much information do you have of your neighbors and indeed your landlord? Because tenants are not the only ones who can commit crimes. If we were to ask you about your landlord or landlady, how much information can you give? Also, and this is the important part, because I have to admit, when I heard how the kids were lured, there was a part of me that was angry. The tenants lured the children with biscuits, according to the report from the PPRO. Can your child be lured with snacks? Can a simple treat, meat pie, biscuit, sweet, or whatever, be enough to compromise your child's safety? After the break, we talk. Stay with us.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back after this. Hey, if you
to that conversation, stating that the charges against the landlady is conspiracy. They're trying to see if she has a hand in the abduction, and if they find out that she does not, she'll be up for bail. And so this is where we are. This, of course, raises many questions. How much information do you have of your tenants if you're a landlord or landlady, and of your neighbors if you're a tenant, and of your landlord if you're also a tenant? And can your child be lured with snacks? Can a simple treat be enough to compromise your child's safety? If a stranger or a familiar face, maybe even a neighbor, says, "Hey, Junior, come, let me buy you sweets or biscuits," will that be enough to lure them? 0817923 0002, 0817923 0003. WhatsApp is 080 06416. If and when you call, please turn off your radio. Daniel calls from Imo Gates. Hello, Daniel. Good evening.
Good evening, Samarako.
Good evening.
Yes. We are learning anyway. Due to our own poor background, our own class, and I know this may be applicable to that woman I am talking about, the landlady, that a tenant is looking for an accommodation, and you are asking, according to your guest, for your identity and all that. They will only see you as being very big. This man go there, or this man go there. In our own local palace there. They will leave. But all the same, I am learning. Even to a landlord, only to those that has maybe estate where a lawyer takes care of those rental agreements or whatever. I am just saying. Then, in terms of the children, my brother, that can happen to any child within our own class here, within our own environment here. So one should not blame that woman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. I have a different set of views when it comes to your earlier position. There have been, I know that there are policies, I will still try to get, if it is backed by law, that landlords are supposed to get as much information from their tenants before giving them apartment. It's common knowledge, right? Because there usually is a tenancy agreement. Whether the tenant thinks that you are hard or you are wicked, it is for safety. There have been many situations, not even a few, where it was later discovered that a neighbor was a kidnapper. And then they asked, did this person not know? How much information did the landlord get? And these conversations come up every time. I also know there was a time that the EFCC said if a landlord gives an apartment to a Yahoo boy, he would also be liable, right? So the idea behind getting the data of your tenants is not new. It's actually a norm. But I'll try to see what backs it up, if it's a law or a policy. Hart from Malakai here. Hello, Hart.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I want to respond to your question to say how much information you have about your neighbors, and also even the landlord.
Yeah.
I just want to say this, that it's quite unfortunate that most times when you rent an apartment, the landlords are just interested in the rent. No information, no background check about the person that they are giving out the apartment to. Now the question is, I know you are conversant with how landlords rent their house here. They'll tell you, bring money for lawyer agreement, bring money for this, bring money for that, without knowing what the person is doing. You could remember the young guy who killed the uniform student.
Yeah.
How can a student be renting an apartment of, like, let's say 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom flat in an estate like that? It calls for a question. And now you see the tenants living together. Everybody mind your business. But if the landlord should have a chart of a proper information of all the tenants brings your national ID card, even if you forge an address. There's a national ID card. If they go to any place to verify the national ID card, information about that person that is true will definitely pop up.
Yeah.
So I think the landlords they should wake up, not just taking rent. My landlord does not even know anything about me. He doesn't know anything. So the thing is, if I should commit a crime now, he doesn't know where to find me.
For your own safety, for your own safety, do you know anything about him?
I don't know either.
You don't be. Okay, thank you, Hart, for calling. God's Power calls from HA. Good evening, God's Power.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. This topic is an opener. Because it's not that they are telling us. Most of us don't go to that detail to know about our tenants.
Okay.
This one has made me now to profile my tenants. I have about 5 of them.
Okay.
I have to know their place, what they are working, their everything. Even if they're 4G, it's necessary. And some tenants have already got label. They can give you false information. But I will go into detail. If it is possible, I will go and know their hometown. Their home. Because what I'm hearing now, that if they perform anything in office, they will have to hold the landlord responsible. I thought it's on them only because they are paying. It is not bad that we have to know their details. As I finish talking now, I will call my tenants. Please bring your NRM and your hometown, everything, details. I don't have those details, I tell you. And I don't know what they are working. I just see them, bye-bye, they pay, I go. I will provide them a very nice information. It's good now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gospa. I'm glad that you are going to do that. It's very important. I mean, there are landlords that go to the point of security screening, right? I have conversations with a security consultant every time, and he talks about how they go that far. Even DSS, no kidding. But like the first caller said, some would think that the landlord is harsh, but it is for safety, security, and sanity. Lawson calls from Ada George. Hello, Lawson. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Lawson.
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, first, let me answer the question you asked. Whether will your children resist if they are tempted with the kids?
Yeah.
I cannot say yes or no. Why do I say so?
Tell me.
Let your children not be tempted at the time they want to eat. Or just like this story, the parents were not around. And perhaps they are feeling hungry. And if they are tempted at this time, it's only Jesus Christ that can say that, like as he told Satan. You understand? When Satan came to tempt him that he should turn stone to bread.
Yeah, but Lord,
so you understand where I'm going?
I do understand, but there are children that even if they are dying of hunger, they will not take. There are some kids like that.
I understand. I agree with you. But I'm saying that these things should not happen to our children. Perhaps when they feel hungry, when they want to eat, perhaps they may not be able to withstand that temptation. That aside, then there was a question that was put to the police, whether the landlord needs to take information about his tenants. Now, for every state, they have a tenancy law. The question we should ask ourselves, does tenancy law provide for this? And in prosecuting any crime, there are those you call prosecution witness. And a lot more of the time, the police make this mistake by bringing in those who are supposed to be their witness to be culprits or to be accused. So once the accused want to, defend himself from that matter, it becomes very difficult even to now get conviction or punishment for those who have committed a crime. So my point is, the police should look at the law. If the tenancy law of Delta State provides that you must secure the particulars of any person before the person becomes your tenant, that means that's where you will now find that person faulty or to have committed a crime.
Yeah, but
if there is no law on such, they should just allow that landlord to go to our house or his house.
Okay, so
they should and they must do this.
Okay, so not everything has to be a law, right? I'm hoping that you're listening over the phone. Chidebere, I'll be speaking with you in a few seconds. It doesn't have to be a law. It could be a procedure. It could be a policy. It could be... But the point is, it helps you. Let me give an example. In some states in this country, there is a law that states that if a building is used to house abductees, kidnappers kidnap people, and then they go and keep them in a building, that the government can demolish that building. That is law. Now, as a landlord, it is in your best interest to get as much information of your tenants as possible, whether it is law or not. Because if a tenant is a kidnapper and they keep the person they have kidnapped in your house, even if it's for one day, as it happened here in Rivers State, in one estate like that, I don't know, I can't remember the year, but it made the news. The government has the right to demolish your building. Will you now say, oh, because it's not a law, let me not stress my tenants? Wouldn't you be on the safe side to do your security screening, which is required to save yourself? So, like I said, it doesn't have to be a law. It's commonsensical. After Chidebere, I will read some policies. Hello? Chidebere from Oyibo. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, all right, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, talking about whether my landlord know much about me, or whether I know my landlord or even my co-tenant. I must tell you where I'm living now. I parked in there earlier this year.
Okay.
And I think the only person that even tried to do a due diligence was the agent that took me there. He is my friend. We have known each other from the church I worship.
Okay.
So I contacted him that I'm looking for a house. So when the house came out, it was on the process of going to see that he actually asked me where I was from. You understand? It was at the point of even telling him that he now told me that his sister even married in my village. That was the only question I was asked. Nothing else. The next thing was they showed me the apartment and then give me a account number. I paid him. See, today, nobody, even the caretaker, I don't think the caretaker know where I am from. I don't even think that I even know where the caretaker is from because the landlord is not staying with us. I've not seen the landlord for the first time. Even my co-tenant, I can bet you, I don't know much about them. So this thing now is an eye-opener, like just like what I said. And concerning the children, can your kids be tempted with snacks? I'm not married yet, but I live in a compound. There are kids in the compound. I am somebody that loves kids. I might be coming back sometime. I will buy these kids and share to them, or what is coming by, that kind of thing. So, and from looking at those kids, they are not saying that they are suffering from hunger. They believe their parents are treating them well. Yeah. You can't see them come to you and ask you for no anything, or even knock at your door for food. But it takes the grace of God for a kid to resist those things.
Yeah.
It can only be, in fact, a child that can resist that, you have to examine that child very well. It might not just be that the child don't want to take it. Maybe there is a spirit in that child that is telling the child, don't take it. You understand? So children are being tempted with all these things. So I can't blame the kids for that. Neither will I blame the parent. But this is an eye-opener for all of us, for us to know our neighborhood, both our landlord and tenant. We should know something about ourselves so that if something happens, we know how to tackle it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Chidebere. I completely understand, but there is a place for home training. I know that this is the experience of a lot of people, and as a caller said, it really is up to God at the end of the day, to save us. But there are homes where kids are not allowed. The way our parents raised us, and so many people were raised like this. You don't take anything from strangers. You don't even eat in a neighbor's house. This was the standard now. I mean, not be this same Nigeria all of us grew. In the same country, not very long ago. I don't know if it's different now. Children don't collect anything from neighbors, from strangers. You don't eat in their house. You don't take. This was it now. If your parents heard that when you went to school, you ate from your friend's food, or they will kill you. Right? So with this priming, and I know that it has its pros and cons, there are kids who will not. Promise calls from location. Good evening, Promise.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This topic is interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah, I could remember this similar incident happened at Rumo Kroshi. A woman that used to go to one woman as a friend. Before you know, she normally comes here. Never knew that she had another agenda to come and take the children and disappear. It happened that at the end she succeeded. Even up to today, they have not seen that children. So what am I trying to say is this? Like me, I have two boys, and they are just little tender, 3 years, 4 years. Even now, after telling them, look, you don't take anything from anybody. Don't take anything from anybody. I know that with the tender age, you can convince them, as in terms of this biscuit, sweets, all those things. Even sometimes I tell my wife, please, if I'm not around, make sure you put eyes on these children, because this world now is a wicked place. Let me also come in terms of this landlord of 18. I think by special grace of God, I have like little I used to collect rent. When the agent brought the tenant, because what most of these agents normally does is that they just want to push anybody to you and collect their money. That's what it does. But me as a landlord, I was started asking questions though. And I brought a tenancy agreement.
Yeah.
Even sometimes I do take a look. I would like to see somebody that will, as a shorty.
Yeah.
I will also tell you that this money that I want to pay me, whether it's 10 naira or 50 kobo, that is not my problem. My problem is that I really want to know you because of tomorrow. Not that tomorrow now I will not find out you're a kidnapper or you're a criminal. And when police came or when government come, either you run away. I become a victim. Then the little time you gave to me, before you know, I'll go and spend 100 naira. I tell them.
Okay.
My problem is not that money I want to pay me. I will ask you, what do you do for a living? You tell me, where you came from? Even sometimes I want to know that office. I want to come there to come and know. I would ask one of the person, do you know this person? Say yes. Is he working or is she working? I say yes. That is how I do my own thing.
Okay.
And I will tell my brother or my sister, that money that you want to give me is not my problem.
All right.
You have to also scare the heart. That is why this tenancy agreement is there.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate.
All right, thank you, Promise.
People don't look at all those things.
Thank you very much.
For money.
A message on WhatsApp from someone who shares my name, actually, and this is interesting. It says, this is a wake-up call. Oh. Do you know that I have a tenant that I don't even know anything about him? I've not seen him in person. Now, fear just they catch me, so. Vam, tomorrow at the Go Village. Go see him. Chinedu Samuel. Chinedu Samuel is your name. Chinedu Samuel, it's nice to meet you. Owanete says, landlords should be able to know all necessary information about their tenants and let parents be up and doing. Also know who their children identify and play with, whether neighbors or not. That's from Owanete, Clinton West. Your topic this evening really sweet me, my brother. In Rumosi here, the landlords here are after money, increasing house rent anyhow. Let government try to send agencies to prosecute landlords that did not register their house with a lawyer. The funniest part of it is they do not give receipts after payment. You didn't give your name, but you gave your thoughts, and you've told us where it hurts. Braid from Buguma is my final call. Hello, Braid. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Chief Comrade I am Braid.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, first and foremost, have you seen where somebody gave a child money and that child turned to yam?
Yeah, we've heard. I haven't seen, but I've heard.
Yes. That is why parents should be very, very skeptical with their children. not to eat anywhere, to collect from anybody. As I am, I cannot see my child taking money from anybody whom I don't know. Even the person I knew, before you collect, I have to know. If I see it from you and you tell me, I will spank you very well. The other one, landlord and tenant. Landlord's supposed to know who is their tenant. And you ought to know what is the livelihood of that tenant. Now, in a situation where you put in somebody because of money, you don't know where the person comes from, you don't know where the person works, you don't know his age, that is wrong. There should be landlord and tenancy agreement form. On that form, he will state his own town, his local government, his chief community will find for him.
All right.
So that if anything, you know where to lay your hand.
Okay, Brad.
If anything happens, you should go for it.
Yeah.
The landlord should go for it because you don't take cognizance of what is happening in our secular society.
All right, I have to let you go. I'm officially out of time. This is where this conversation ends. I'm certain that you know the idea behind this is that we are careful. As a landlord, a tenant, a parent, everyone is a stakeholder. You need to take safety and security seriously. The news comes up at 6. After that, it's open season. Stay with us.